So much here to learn from. I often find myself being a somewhat of an arbitrator of just familial issues when people whose parents are dealing with kids dealing with parents. I find myself being on both sides, helping kids respond to their parents, helping parents respond to their children. And if you want a play-by-play guidebook as to what you should or should not do when it comes to familial issues, then be aware that this week's parsha is the parsha that you want to look to for guidance. It is the parsha that gives you the insight into ensuring that you won't make the mistakes that so many people make when they're dealing with their kids. So Korah is the cousin of Moses. He is the most distinguished of the tribe of Levi. And he falls prey to three of the sins which our sages teach us are the source of all destructive character traits. They are kina, tava, and kavod. Okay, jealousy, lust, and honor. In Korach's case, where he lost himself was in the worlds of jealousy and honor. Okay, he creates a rebellion and tries to unseat Moses and Aaron. Vayikach Korach, and Korach took are the opening words of the parasha. And our Chachamim explained to us that he took, Vayikach means he seduced the people through persuasive words. He duped them and he bamboozled and hoodwinked them, and he managed to incite 250 leaders of the nation to join him. Those who participated in the rebellion all had their own hidden agendas. Everyone wanted their own thing. First and foremost among them were Datan and Abiram. These were two individuals who had a long history of attacking Moses and harbored a strange, I would say, desire to go back to the land of Egypt. Then there was the neighboring tribe of Reuben, my namesake. Korah convinced them that Moses was guilty of nepotism, stating that it was not by the command of God that Moses had appointed Aaron the high priest, but rather by his own ambition to keep all the high honor for his own family. Korach's arguments fell on willing ears. They were once the golden calf had taken place, these people were all listening. Like, how do we know that Moses was the right guy for the job? How do we know that he was a real leader? Reuben lost his privileged position as a firstborn son. Reuben's vulnerability also laid in his close proximity to Korach itself, reinforcing this profound warning of Chachamim: woe to the wicked and woe to his neighbor. We must be very careful when choosing a place of residence. We have to be very careful who we hang around, because our neighbors, our friends, our culture, society can influence us without us ever even realizing it. I just married my 202nd couple this last week. And I can tell you that every couple I need to spend an hour with to help debug their own understanding of what a marriage ought to be, because so much of it is from the West, without parents teaching it, just being around and just absorbing the environment. And I'm confident that if all of us were born somewhere else, our views on marriage would be very, very different. So I try to give them a Jewish view. So who you hang around impacts you. Shevet Reuven taken down by the proximity to Korach itself. Now, there are times in life where accusations that are made on us are so outrageous, they're so egregious, that one is left stunned and completely dumbfounded, unable to respond. Moses is lovingly referred to as Moshe Haroeh Ne'eman, the loyal shepherd. He sacrificed his entire life for his people. He wrestled with God, wrestled with the angels. He put on himself online by declaring, if you give them good, if not, erase me from your book. Now, Moses, this Ro'eh Ne'eman, the loyal shepherd, is put on trial by this pretender, this bamboozler, and accused of nepotism and greed, right? Can you imagine the pain that Moses must have felt at this senseless, ridiculous, absurd accusation? We could gain a glimpse into the suffering when the Torah tells us that he fell on his face. He fell on his face in prayer. What could he have possibly said when confronted by such ingratitude, by such a betrayal? How would you have reacted in Moses' place? What can we learn from Moshe to help us when we are unjustly accused by individuals who we have sacrificed and gave our love to? Now, by all rights, Moses had been completely justified by reacting furiously and demanding the obliteration of these insurgents. But instead, what does Moses do? He tries to reason with them. In the morning, he tells them, Boker, Hashem will make it known. He said the word, now the word Boker does not just mean morning, but it relates to the word bikoret, which means to clarify, to investigate. By Moshe telling the people to sleep on it, wait until the morning, he hoped that they would examine their own motivation. He hoped that they would rethink their position, that they would maybe let go of their malignant plans, right? But sadly, they remained adamant and refused to concede their evil intent. So lesson number one, this is lesson number one. Lesson number one that we learn is not to act hastily, okay? Don't rush into emotional responses to circumstances that require sophisticated intellectual deliberation. Before speaking, before acting, before condemning, the first thing you got to do is try to make peace. Tell your opponent, sleep on it. Wait until the morning. My approach is always delay. Wait. Take 24 hours. Take a week. Take your time. Let's deliberate. Why? In the hope that he, she, whoever it is that you're trying to get to deliberate will investigate and find clarity. Unfortunately, in the case of Korah, it didn't work. Korah and his followers remained blind, okay? Regardless, Moses' example is here to guide us. That's the right response, because ultimately people have to make their own choice in how they're going to respond. With children, if you see them, the time not helping, you could tell them, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. I want you to get the clarity. Explain to me why A, B, and C, and force them to go into it. With adults, they have to come to it on their own. Despite everything, Moses does not give up. He sent for Datan and Abiram and tried to make peace with them, but once again, they arrogantly refused. So what does Moses, the prophet of God, the leader of Israel, the beloved rabbi of the Jewish people, what does he do? He humbles himself by personally going to Datan and Abiram in a final effort to make peace. Once again, very profound lesson over here. Okay, what's that lesson? The lesson is, if strife and contention plague our families or community, don't stand on ceremony. Be the first one to extend the hand of peace. If Moses didn't feel he compromised his honor by humbling himself, how can we think about it? Even if our overtures are rebuffed, we should not give up, but try and try again. Achachamim admonish us not to keep quarreling going and give us a threefold formula in achieving peace. Ready? It's very easy, because these are all metaphor. Be like a tea kettle, be like a bird, and be like a river. Okay, let's explain. Be like a tea kettle. A tea kettle makes peace between fire and water, even though it becomes scorched in the process. Try to catch a bird. It'll fly away. Someone took your seat. Someone just shoved themselves into your parking space. This just happened to me yesterday. Instead of being angry, learn from the bird and fly away. The banks of the river, they keep the waters from overflowing. Learn control and don't permit the floodwaters of your emotion, your temper to take over. Let us take to heart Moses' example. Pursue peace and make every attempt at reconciliation. You have a responsibility to do it, because the world is at stake. When we can't fix our familial problems, they spill into communal to the global, and there are disastrous consequences of jealousy. Now, Korah possessed everything to which a man could aspire. He was brilliant. He was very smart. He comes from a noble family. He was majestic in appearance. He was the wealthiest man of his time, loaded. But all his attainments were for naught because he had no peace, no shalom. His heart was consumed by jealousy. His obsession comes to this tragic and unfortunate end, and it results in his own death. And not only his own death, but the death of his family as well as many other people around him. Jealousy is the ugliest trait a person can harbor. So how can we protect ourselves from the deadly sting of jealousy? Now, whenever we feel jealousy invading our hearts, let us bear in mind that jealousy is a pointless and self-destructive. Okay? If anything, it's going to make things worse. What we covet will not become ours. It's going to prevent us from enjoying what we do have. And worse, it's going to transform us into this bitter, cruel, ugly individual. Korah, who at the first hand had everything that all of us possibly could imagine and want, in the end, what does he have? Nada, nothing. All his accomplishments, all the wealth had no meaning because in his mind's eye, all he saw was the crown of priesthood on his cousin's head and not on his own. The story of Korah speaks to every single generation. Jealousy has been the undoing of man since the beginning of time, when Cain rose up to kill his brother Hevel. Baruch Hashem, in our own generation, we enjoy so many blessings, and yet we're discontent and ungrateful. Somehow we feel that it's our neighbor, our relative, our friend is better than we are. The grass, my friends, is always greener on the other side. God forbid. We rob ourselves of having that yishuv hadat, the peace of mind, making ourselves miserable and unable to enjoy those blessings that we do have. So instead of looking enviously at others, we would do well to focus on our own lives and develop our own potential. Stop looking outward. The great Hasidic leader, Rav Zisha, was once asked if he would have preferred to have been born the patriarch Abraham, right? Or any one of the patriarchs, to which he responded, what would the Almighty have gained from that? There would still only be one Abraham and one Rav Zisha, right? What's he teaching us? The teaching of Rav Zisha is that we would do well to contemplate that everything that we have is there for us. There is no better reality. We got to realize that each and every one of us has a unique, special task. And that throughout our lives, we have to strive to fulfill the purpose for which God created us, instead of trying to imitate others. Stop copying the things around you. Stop being a poser. But instead, probe your own souls and become your own unique selves. As a teacher, I can't tell you, I pride myself in trying to become a teacher, the teacher that creates students that become independent. I don't want you to relying on me. I need you to become big and strong. I'll always be there for you, but I want you to be able to stand on your 2 feet. This is the wish of every parent, that our children become independent. Genuine joy can only come from the knowledge that we're standing at the post to which we were assigned to by God and fulfilling his will. On the other hand, talk about self-aggrandizement. An envious eye could only lead to frustration and destruction. Forget about what everyone else is doing. Forget about everyone else's house. Forget about how they responded. What's the right response for you? How are you going to deal with your issue? The sooner we realize this, the sooner we're going to know peace of mind. In living a purposeful life, it's important to remember the very first passage of the Parshat, which relates to Korah, that Korah v'yikach, he took, which means that the life of Korah centered on taking rather than giving. Takers are never content, since genuine happiness can only be found in giving. Had Korah realized this one little thing, right, he would have understood the very, very essence of life. He would have understood that the whole function, purpose of life is to give so that we can create a relationship with the Almighty. This realization would have enabled him to enjoy in his own achievements, and most importantly, the achievements of our friend. If, in summation, just to end, the Parsha is all about family. It's about relationships. It's about how we connect to people. The thing that I find that often stands in the way of our ability to find peace and enjoy the things, the gifts that God has given us, is ourselves. What does Moshe do? The most humble man on the planet, he removes himself. There is no self, there is no ego. When it comes to shalom, reduce yourselves, get rid of the ego, and recognize that the circumstances you're in are a unique opportunity to do something unique. You know what that is? God creates a world of this turbulentness, of circumstances that challenge us, and you have the power of transforming the situation into something called shalom, to tranquility. This is your power. In this way, you become godly. You can be a godlike being by taking a ridiculously uncomfortable, painful situation and reducing it into an opportunity where you can draw people together, get rid of the ego, and build yourself up. Stop thinking about what was. God forbid, you're not a friar if you give in. You're not. Being humble doesn't mean that you have to humiliate yourself. Being humble means opening up the possibility for greater things than just your own personal honor. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom Mevarach. May you be blessed with the power of being satiated with the things that you have, enjoying the pleasure of the world, recognizing that everything that we're given is uniquely there for us, for our growth and our development. That the homes we have, the families we have, the children, grandchildren, Bezrat Hashem, the circumstance that we were in, I can't change the past. I can only change in how I deal with the present, which allows me to re-envision the future. Shabbat Shalom Avrach, be blessed and enjoy. Looking forward to chatting with you all next week. Be safe, everybody. Take care. Shabbat Shalom.